Lawmakers will consider a bill this week that could ban the sale of nitrous oxide in Louisiana.
The bill comes as a result of our series detailing the risks and ease of access to nitrous. As Rob Krieger explains, one bride-to-be is hoping the legislation can save lives just months after losing the love of her life.
I had everything picked out, my wedding dress, we had everything planned. I was actually going home that day for us to decide where we were going to go on our honeymoon. I called him twice like I do on my way home, and he didn't answer. And I pulled up to our house, and I saw that his car was parked in the middle. I went into a room, and I was just like, you gotta be kidding me. Found a book sack full of masks, the tank, the connection to the tank. He was hooked up to nitrous and no oxygen. I thought at first he was joking, and so I called his name, and immediately how his body looked, I knew that there is no return.
Ashley Broha found her fiance, who we're not identifying, dead, hooked to a nitrous oxide tank like this.
Never in a million years thought I would watch him get rolled out of the house with the coroner's office.
An autopsy by the East Baton Rouge Parish coroner last fall determined he died due to asphyxia because of nitrous oxide poisoning, just months before they were set to be married in January.
And it all went away in a day.
She believes her fiancé bought that nitrous oxide online after finding this box with a shipping label from a company which sells nitrous oxide through this website.
How are these people able just to get online and order these tanks with not having to have any type of validation that you're in the medical field, you're in the restaurant industry?
Nitrous oxide delivery through the site is offered legally under current law. The site calls it a green alternative to whipped cream chargers, offering direct shipping of these industrial-sized nitrous oxide tanks across the country, even to hotels and Airbnbs.
They just ship them to wherever you are. It's just, it blows my mind. This can't be happening.
The website links this safety data sheet, warning of the potential toxicity and suffocation risks linked to inhaling nitrous, including frostbite, central nervous system depression, and unconsciousness. Broha is a dental hygienist required by state law to have certification every 2 years just to administer nitrous oxide on a patient. But after the death of her fiancé, she found people seeking a high have far fewer restrictions than those in the medical field.
If I have to be certified, if I have to get a license, if I have to renew my license for being a dental hygienist every 2 years, then there's no way that kids and adults should be able to get online and just pay $9.99 for shipping fee and get nitrous tanks delivered to wherever they are.
I was incensed. There's a law, but there's a loophole in the law, and that's how they're getting around it.
State Representative Joe Stagney, whose district includes parts of Kenner, filed a bill to close those loopholes.
You brought to light a serious problem. It is a growing, what I would consider, epidemic, and it has flown under the radar.
Stagney says after seeing our series of stories on nitrous oxide abuse detailing the costs of addiction, the ease of access, and the consequences to innocent lives, he authored legislation due for debate this session.
I not only want to ban the sale, I want to go after the manufacturer because they know what they're doing. This is a concerted effort to profit off the health and safety and economic welfare of our state, just so they can make, some money on this.
Co-authored with fellow Kenner lawmaker Debbie Villio, Stagney's bill changes key wording in current law. Right now, nitrous oxide sales in Louisiana are legal as long as the gas is not sold for the purpose of inducing or aiding any other person to inhale or ingest such substance. The new law eliminates that language, Stagney says, effectively making the sale of nitrous tanks like these illegal in Louisiana.
The tanks have made it easier. It just shows what their motive is. It's not to make whipped cream. Go a half block in any direction in the greater New Orleans region and find this stuff. Somebody's out there either selling it or getting the unsuspecting public hooked on this, and then they have a customer for life.
Stagny's bill inflates previous financial penalties for selling nitrous to $2,500 for each violation, or up to a year in prison, or both.
It's disingenuous. It's greed. I mean, they're selling it, and the producer's producing it to make a profit, and it's all at the expense of our citizens, their families.
And it's sad that they're out there making more and more money as people are losing loved ones like myself, my family, and his family.
Broha sees healing beneath that hurt, eager to back the new legislation.
When I found out about this bill, it was like he was talking to me and every other family member around the world that has lost someone or is struggling with this addiction.
Confident stories like Broha's will convince his fellow lawmakers in Baton Rouge to back the bill. Stagny is ready to make significant change to the way nitrous oxide is treated in the state. Change Broha thinks will save lives.
We've had enough. We know enough people that have been hurt and injured by this. And you can't exploit that loophole for profit at the expense of hurting our citizens.
I don't want someone else to have to go through my pain, his family's pain, my family pain, our friends. It's not a good feeling to live with.
That was Rob Krieger reporting. Lawmakers will consider the legislation in the Criminal Justice Committee Thursday, where Broha says she'll speak on behalf of her fiancé, joining others impacted by nitrous abuse to plead for. Bill that would ban the sale of nitrous oxide passes unanimously out of the Criminal Justice Committee in Baton Rouge this morning.
It's legislation spurred by our reporting on nitrous abuse and the ease of access to the gas. Rob Krieger explains why families say Louisiana has taken the first steps in the country at stopping retailers and manufacturers from supplying a high.
Bolstered by braces on her legs, Jenna Campbell made her way into the Capitol this morning, slowly, still recovering from nitrous oxide poisoning that landed her in the hospital last fall for weeks. By her side, her father, Greg Campbell, carried the same neon green nitrous oxide tank he found before she was hospitalized to show lawmakers what's supplied in stores across the state right now.
Most people think of a whippet as a little CO2 size cartridge that can fit in your pocket. Not anymore. These manufacturers really stepped up their game. Industrial size canisters like that one is on the shelves at gas stations and smoke shops all around Louisiana, and even can be purchased on Amazon, costing about $70 per tank.
Legislators in the Criminal Justice Committee were floored to find out the known inhalant has easy access under state law.
To be quite honest, I had no knowledge of the severity of this product.
That canister there, where is that available at? That's not a
Gas stations, Amazon.
that size?
And it actually comes with a mouthpiece.
This is something that no one up there knew about and how dangerous it was.
Fighting back tears, Ashley Broha urged lawmakers to pass the legislation authored by Kenner Representatives Joe Stagny and Debbie Villio as a result of our reporting. The proposed bill would restrict the sale of nitrous, closing a loophole in current law Broha says allowed her fiancé to purchase an industrial-sized tank.
On September 25th, 2023, my life changed forever. My fiance, my best friend, a son, an uncle, and friend to so many passed away, being able to order a nitrous tank online with just a click of a button.
Just 3 months before her wedding, Ashley lost her fiancé. The East Baton Rouge coroner determined he suffocated because of nitrous oxide poisoning, a tragic consequence impacting families across Louisiana.
It's been hell for 2 years. This is a serious problem.
We need to take a stance in making this product have stricter rules and regulations and penalties for the everyday person.
Lawmakers unanimously passed the legislation out of committee, marking a first step in legislation that would force retailers to pull tanks like these off the shelves. Stagny says it sends a message to the nitrous oxide industry they won't profit from abuse and addiction in Louisiana.
I think we as a body are sending a message to those manufacturers and those retailers that we're not going to have this in our state anymore. Our people don't deserve it, and you're doing it just to make money, and our people and our families are suffering.
For the families of nitrous abuse victims, it's a resolve that shows lawmakers are determined to rein in the unregulated inhalant with legislation that could save lives.
You know, more kids are going to You're going to see people doing it at events, at parades, parties. They're going to wonder what it is and try it, and they could become as addicted as my daughter did. I'm just glad we're making these changes right now for Louisiana, and hopefully the surrounding states will follow.
Rob Krieger, Fox 8, Local First.
If the law passes, it would make Louisiana the first state in the country to ban nitrous in the retail setting. It's likely to be taken up by the full House next week.
Weekends of the festival season, our cameras caught people pushing dangerous drugs in plain sight right in front of hundreds of people. It's an issue first responders say they're aware of.
Yeah, but as Rob Krieger learned, they can't always confiscate evidence from people suspected of supplying a high.
On Frenchman Street, tucked between trash cans, to the gates of Jazz Fest. Balloons bartered by the fistful. In plain sight and right in front of our cameras. Outside Jazz Fest Friday, May 3rd on Gentilly Boulevard.
What is that? Helium? Nitrous.
And steps away from popular restaurants near the fairgrounds, our cameras captured multiple nitrous dealers.
3 for 20, dead pictures.
People passing nitrous like party favors, often in exchange for cash.
Hey man, what you got?
Nitrous.
Oh yeah?
Laughing guys, yeah.
How much is it?
3 for 20.
3 for 20?
Yeah.
All right.
I got you, right?
Wait, that's not legal, right?
I mean, it depends how you look at it.
But legally under Louisiana state law, it's not legal for you to be selling this
It's
out
not
here.
illegal.
It's illegal for you to sell nitrous to inhale, right?
You recorded me, man.
New Orleans police say this is illegal. But the manager of one live music venue says it's nothing new.
Sadly, people selling nitrous oxide balloons outside music venues has just become a part of this scene that no one asked for.
Brian Greenberg manages Tipitina's. He says nitrous dealers regularly make sales on the neutral ground and across the street during late night shows, especially during festival season.
It is half a dozen people wandering up and down the street, holding fists full of balloons, standing in the intersection, blocking traffic. Like it's just a terrible look. And it's not just here, it's happening at venues and neighborhoods all over the town, especially during Jazz Fest.
Go to the head shop around the corner and buy one, okay?
It's illegal to inhale it, right?
It's not illegal to do shit, bro.
Is illegal? I thought it was legal the way it was done.
Reggie Ford is a New Orleans artist who posts about the city. During Jazz Fest, he captured this video on the steps of Caesars.
It looked like a zombie land. It looked like a drug house, right in the middle of the city.
These people come from all over the world to enjoy our music, but there's someone outside having a little nitrous party, so they think they'd join that instead of buying a ticket to a show or buying a drink inside the bar. No, I mean, they're just giving it to someone who's, a drug dealer on the street, essentially.
It's a scene Ford says encroaches on the city's economy and culture.
They did this in the most video section of the city. This is right in front of a billion-dollar casino, and no law enforcement intervened in it.
Right now, the NOPD does not have a method for handling nitrous oxide tanks in certain conditions, something Greenberg experienced firsthand on May 2nd at the corner of Napoleon and Tchoupitoulas when he called police to report a half-dozen dealers outside of Tipitina's.
The people selling balloons, they scattered, they went and hid their tanks and ran off around the corner or wherever else. And one person did stash one tank in a garbage can in the neutral ground. We told the police, hey, they put one over there, you should probably go get that tank. And they went over, they took a look, they pulled it out, and they called the fire department.
The New Orleans Fire Department says when they got the call, it was originally listed as a bomb scare. But once on scene, officers told them they would need help to dispose of a canister of nitrous oxide.
That's happened before. The fire department would just let all the gas out and then take it away for evidence.
But the fire department says the control valve had been removed from the canister and determined it was not an explosive threat or chemical hazard that would require NOFD intervention. The captain dismissed the company from the scene. The NOPD says Central Evidence does not have the capability to store pressurized containers. And the New Orleans Fire Department says confiscated cylinders should not be stored without knocking the valve off.
So the option for the police was just to leave it behind.
Greenberg says the police refused to take the tank of nitrous oxide. In a response, the NOPD says its officers offered to move the tank away from the trash can where it was found on the neutral ground. But responding officers reported Greenberg feared dealers would retaliate against him, so the tank was left inside the garbage can. at his request. Greenberg says he doesn't recall police giving him an option to move the tank to another trash can. He says he's furious and thinks police could have done something to prevent more sales.
I was angry, yeah, absolutely. It seemed outrageous, all this trouble to stop this thing from happening. And here we are, you can take it off the street, but I was shocked that they would just leave it behind. They said they would stick around and wait to see if someone came and got it. But after 15 minutes, the police officer drove away. I don't know if he got another call or what happened, but there was just a tank sitting in the neutral ground.
Greenberg says police gave him this document explaining how to obtain a copy of the police report, listed with an item number, an officer name, G. Hayes, and recorded as a complaint. When we attempted to obtain the report of the complaint, the city initially responded no report existed because necessary action was taken.
I mean, I don't think that the necessary action was taken because an hour later, people showed back up with another nitrous tank. So it's not like the problem was solved. It was just kind of discarded.
A problem many say is inflating across the city, targeting tourists and hooking residents.
You saw balloons on the ground. At one point, I saw a guy just standing in a driveway with a big old canister like this, just kind of standing there, and he would just stand, and everybody just looked like as though it was normal.
Dr. Eric Griggs explains the prevalence of nitrous oxide gives potential buyers a false sense of safety, as some peddling balloons claim it's harmless.
The point is, it's been normalized to the point that people think it's something that's benign, and we know that it's not.
The New Orleans Fire Department says it's aware of the rise of nitrous oxide abuse in our community, and the NOPD points out it is illegal for anyone to inhale, possess, or transfer nitrous oxide like this. In fact, police made 4 arrests this month during the last weekend of Jazz Fest. The first arrest on Saturday, May 4th, when police saw a man in possession of a black nylon bag that contained a nitrous oxide tank and hundreds of balloons near Gonzaga and Gentilly, just a day after our cameras captured people on that same corner buying balloons dealers say were filled with nitrous oxide.
What is that?
Then 3 more arrests Sunday night near the corner of Grand Route St. John and Sauvage Street, where police say they arrested 3 people and confiscated these 2 tanks of nitrous oxide. Also just blocks away from this scene 2 nights earlier as people passed balloons of nitrous oxide in the shadows. Griggs says recreational use like this can lead to devastating and long-term impacts.
The blood vessels leave your heart. They get smaller and smaller. You can deoxygenate chronic for over time. This is definitely something that if you do recreationally over a long period of time, consistently, you will get the ill effects of it. And we know that. We know that happens.
Despite the risk, it's a dangerous drug found beyond the frat parties on college campuses, on the fairgrounds during Jazz Fest, slung over a shoulder outside of iconic restaurants,
You got a shot you looking for?
and pushed by the fistful on the storied streets of New Orleans as dealers illegally supplying a high collect cash in plain sight.
I feel like if there was heroin in big inflatable balloons in the middle of the street that people were advertising, they would stop it. If there was crack, they would stop it. If there's a food vendor in the street, they shut that down, but they're not shutting this down.
That was Rob Krieger reporting. The NOPD says right now it's working to find a solution to situations when the valve is removed from a pressurized tank, but again says it does not have a way to confiscate or store that evidence if the valve is removed. The Louisiana legislature recently unanimously passed a law banning the retail sale of nitrous oxide following our series of reports. The bill awaits the governor's signature.
A bill that bans the general retail sale of nitrous oxide is signed into law only months after our reports first identified a loophole in the law.
Rob Krieger was at the Capitol as the governor authorized the law, making Louisiana the first state in the country to ban the retail sale of nitrous oxide.
With a stroke of a pen, Governor Jeff Landry made history as Louisiana becomes the first state to ban the general retail sale of nitrous oxide, mere months after Kenner Representatives Joe Stagney and Debbie Villio pinned the bill closing a loophole in Louisiana law that was identified by our series of reports supplying a high.
Debbie and I first saw some reports on Fox 8 News, and then separate people approached us both about filing a bill to do something about the nitrous oxide problem that we're having. It's a growing, an emerging epidemic, at least in South Louisiana, and we believe all throughout the state. It is extremely toxic.
extremely addictive.
I am so excited. Look at this. It's signed.
We first introduced you to Greg Comble in November as he pleaded for help while he watched his daughter, Jenna, fall deeper into addiction, only hoping lawmakers would take action to prohibit the sale of nitrous oxide in places like smoke shops and convenience stores.
For these manufacturers not be able to supply to every gas station in Louisiana, this is huge. This is huge. I hope they lose $1 million and go out of business tomorrow. I really do. This product was put on the street specifically to poison kids, but we got it done today. We're sending a message with this signature.
This is an absolute public safety bill that we hope further protects kids and so that parents out there are not affected by this. And one way to help them is to make sure that the ability for them to get it is limited.
The bill received unanimous support from both sides of the aisle, something stakeholders say shows the importance of a ban of nitrous oxide.
Not a single opposition, unanimous across the board, bipartisan, just huge. This is huge, and we're the first state. And I hope that this shows other states a path forward for them to do the same.
A family friend of the Combles, Samantha McCann, testified in favor of the legislation after learning Jenna lost her ability to walk as a result of nitrous oxide abuse. Now, months later, Comble's daughter is still struggling with her addiction, recently returning to rehab after relapsing this spring.
This is her 4th time in rehabilitation for the same thing. You can't tell me that this product is non-addictive. I mean, she'll go out of her way to get it any way she can. Hopefully this time, when she gets out, everything will be all right, and she won't be able to get it as easily anymore off the streets and just pulling up at a gas station.
The new legislation takes effect in August, when lawmakers expect the state to begin building cases against the manufacturers they say are supplying a high. Rob Krieger, Fox 8, Local First.
Nitrous oxide, commonly known as whippets, can be used legitimately in medical settings and in some food preparations, but recreational use is considered an abuse when you inhale it. Doctors say prolonged abuse can lead to long-term and severe neurological impacts. Until August, it was legal to buy this in Louisiana, but after our Fox 8 reporting, Louisiana became the first state in the country to ban the retail sale of nitrous oxide. Now, Kenner Police enforcing this new law, cracking down on illegal sales. This month, we went undercover with a team of detectives and found even with the threat of a felony arrest, there are still stores supplying a high, as Rob Krieger reports.
Yeah, we're going to send you in. You things getting out now so far.
Accented by a dreary evening, undercover Kenner Police detectives targeted 10 vape stores and head shops looking for nitrous oxide.
Negative at this one.
2 stores were closed.
It's a negative.
7 others told detectives they didn't stock it or got rid of it.
Said he never had it. All right, so that was going to be a negative.
Some workers acknowledged the new ban on retail nitrous sales. Just a year ago, you could find nitrous tanks by the dozen on store shelves like this, but 2 weeks ago, our cameras rolled as undercover agents found the dangerous gas on Williams Boulevard.
1 pack of Galaxy gas, 375 grams. So nitrous oxide, 375 grams on the back.
At Purple Haze Smoke Shop.
Can you step away, please? Kenner Police. Kenner Police, what's Kenner Police department? Get the fuse hands on your back. Everybody else back there?
Police let the man inside leave after learning he wasn't an employee, but not before arresting Alexandra Estrada.
You're being placed under arrest right now because you sold nitrous oxide to an undercover detective.
Estrada, the store employee, told detectives she didn't know she couldn't sell the gas.
Is there a reason why it's stored back there? Why is it stored back there? Like all your other products are on display, on shelves and everything, but the other one is stored in the back.
We just got it done. We just put all of them right there.
Yeah, why did y'all put it in the back?
If you sell it, you can't claim ignorance. It is illegal. It's a felony. You're going to get arrested. You're going to go to jail. The owner is going to be held accountable.
Kenner Police Chief Keith Conley says after similar undercover operations last month, the community has rallied behind the department's efforts to not only educate, but enforce the state's new regulations.
The feedback I got just going out in public, going to restaurants, people came to the table, were saying, this is unbelievable. Thank y'all for getting on top of this.
Conley says he was stunned by the suggestive imagery on nitrous products seized from Smoke Galore on Loyola Drive during his department's operation last month.
It wasn't packaged just for culinary purposes or any other nonsense. It was flashy cardboard packaging to attract juveniles.
I mean, it's the advertising, the way that these things are packaged, and to me, it's completely for abuse purposes.
Scott Bowen is a cognitive neuroscience professor at Wayne State University in Detroit.
I mean, most parents aren't even aware of this.
For nearly 3 decades, his research is focused on inhalant abuse.
I mean, there's hundreds, if not thousands, of these products out there that contain, you know, all sorts of different types of chemicals that can be and are being abused.
Bowen cautions a majority of inhalants are widely used for legitimate purposes, but he struggles to see any legitimacy in tanks of nitrous oxide sold like this.
I think they're manufacturing these products just for that, for abuse. Absolutely, I believe that.
There should be no reason why somebody, for example, at a head shop is selling big tanks of nitrous oxide. I mean, that's obviously being used for personal inhalation.
Louisiana Attorney General Liz Murrill says her office is committed to keeping pressure on the nitrous industry.
This isn't a party trick. It's dangerous, and we need to educate people about why they shouldn't be doing this.
Repeated use interferes with brain functioning. It interferes with B12 processing vitamin. It can, produce muscle weakness. The effects on the body go on and on.
There is a huge problem of abuse of this substance. I don't know why head shops need to sell it at all.
Muriel says her office could investigate nitrous companies if they still deliver shipments to retailers in Louisiana.
If I had evidence that they were selling here, then I would be able to pursue further investigation into that. It's the volume that I think is the red flag.
She sold nitrous oxide to an undercover detective.
Back on Williams Boulevard, before searching for additional nitrous, detectives called the store manager, who claimed the nitrous they had in the store wasn't for sale.
Beginning August 1st, nitrous oxide is illegal to sell. Okay.
Look, we take it all, but we didn't sell it.
She did sell it today. It happened.
Detectives found thousands of dollars worth of nitrous stashed in the back of the store. The manager tells police a wholesaler was supposed to pick it up.
That's why we have it on the bag.
I understand.
It wasn't for sale at all.
Well, it was sold, so I mean, it kind of is for sale if it is sold. Y'all shouldn't even have that in your store. I mean, it's been over a month since the new law came out.
Conley thinks the new law will deter some retailers that have pushed the limits.
That's a big deal. It's hard to regulate these retail shops without teeth. Sometimes it's cheaper to pay the fine because the profit margin could be very large. So by it being a felony, that's big boy court. You're going to have to lawyer up. You're going to have to go in front of a judge in state court dealing with the state prosecutors. And that's a whole different ballgame.
Its regulations police hope will limit the ease of access. However, Bowen warns while the new law is a step, people shouldn't overlook the pervasive threat that still exists.
This is something that was a problem in the 60s and 70s. It's not a problem anymore, but it has continued to be a problem. I call this the silent epidemic. It can be dependence producing or addictive to certain individuals because of the effects of it. And again, this nitrous and some of these other things have long-term effects on the body and can be very devastating.
I think that we have to do a better job of not only disabusing people of the notion that it is safe and a safe and free high. It's not. But also just very quickly implementing some practical solutions for enforcement.
At least in Kenner, those solutions are already seizing loads of the dangerous gas and levying consequences on the people supplying a high.
Once again, that was Rob Krieger reporting. Estrada is charged with distribution of nitrous oxide. She was released on a $5,000 bond, is due back in court in November. The 3 other people arrested last month are all expected back in court on nitrous distribution charges later this